Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Watier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fasting for Life podcast. My name is Dr. Scott Watier, and I'm here, as always, with my good friend and colleague, Tommy Welling. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Fantastic, my friend. Excited for today's listener Q&A conversation. And man, we've got some good ones today. We saw some threads among multiple questions that were submitted, so we're going to get to those. Excited because these are typically some of the most responded to episodes that we do, because as we grew up in school, there is no bad question. Typically, especially inside of coaching and our challenges, when someone asks a question or shares something that might be TMI, there's just this like movement of energy being like, yeah, me too, or I was thinking that, or I had the same problem.
Hashtag relate.
Hashtag relate. Yep. So today's conversation, listener Q&A, we'll get to your questions here in just a minute. First and foremost, I want to welcome you. And if you're new to the Fasting for Life podcast, you want to know more about myself or Tommy, our journeys with fasting, how it's transformed our lives, why we do the weekly episode, why we have our resources on our website in the show notes, why we do our challenges and coaching, because fasting absolutely transformed our lives. And we want to be on this fasting lifestyle journey with you. If you want to know more about us and our story, go back and listen to episode 0 and episode 1. It'll give you a little bit more perspective into who we are and why we do what we do. We want to give a shout out to Darth Spader. This was left on the Spotify platform on episode 290. He said, as a truck driver, I'm constantly surrounded by food, fast food joints at every truck stop, gas station snacks, billboards pushing junk 24/7. Yep. It's a battlefield out there. Tuning into Fasting for Life once a week is like getting a shot of clarity and motivation in the middle of that chaos.
Wow.
Scott and Tommy have helped me realize that every good choice I make, every fast I complete, makes the next one easier. So,
preach it.
Darth Spader, shout out to you out there on the road, in the lonely streets of gas station snacks, truck stops, and billboards. We appreciate you taking the time to leave that review and just keep up the good work.
Absolutely, thank you.
Because you are doing it. All right, let's go into a question that was submitted also on the Spotify platform. This is about a month ago, episode 285. Tommy, this is from Nick. Go ahead and unpack it for us, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, so Nick said, I found that when I go to low carb, my hormones, specifically testosterone, go down. Have you guys found this to be the case too? I was super low carb OMAD, but now eat in a 6-hour window instead, starting with higher carb when I wake up before my workout and close my window at about noon with high protein, low carb. Thoughts? So first of all, Nick, excellent reading the cues, reading what your body's doing. We think that you are absolutely reading those signals the right way. They make intuitive sense when you look at how circadian rhythm affects hormone levels, how your body is set up, and insulin sensitivity versus resistance. Insulin sensitivity is highest in the early hours of the day and just becomes more and more resistant to carbohydrates and to sugar and to the response within blood sugar, and your insulin response being disproportional as you get later on into the day, which then tends to lead towards more fat storage rather than fat burning as those carbohydrates come in later on during the day. So I think you absolutely are on the right track with the order in which that you're bringing this macronutrient balance right here. So yes, absolutely, we've found that to be the case, and also the same thing with regards to hormones, blood work, things like that. Heavily restricting carbohydrates for a long period of time doesn't tend to be the best solution for
long-term success.
Long-term, right? It can be great as a short-term lever rather, to kind of minimize that insulin response and to help balance things out. get the scale moving, balance out the blood work. But on the long term, yes, it can absolutely affect hormone production in men and women at any age, and then also affect physical performance due to the hormone changes, and also just due to restricting those short term fuel supplies. So yes, you can get fat adapted. Yes, people run marathons and compete in powerlifting and other sporting events on low carb or almost no carb. But at the same time, is it ideal?
Is it the most efficient for everybody?
Yeah, and it's definitely not. It's a personal choice, but I think that if you can handle the carbohydrates and you found a good way to bring them in with balance, and be aligned with your circadian rhythm, that's a really smart, optimal way to do that.
So it really depends on the individual and the starting point too. So we did a research article on one of the episodes previously where we talked about the leaner you get, the more carbohydrates your body requires. Mm-hmm. So it's finding the sweet spot. Now I do more carnivore, and with intermittent fasting, my testosterone has actually gone up. Mm-hmm. So fasting, just low carb, yes, that can be the case, depending on your body composition and where you're at. If you're trying to lose weight, you're maintaining, building muscle, etc. Yeah. But fasting just doesn't burn fat. So let's look at the fasting side of things. Fasting just doesn't burn fat because Tommy already said, eating earlier in the day, more carbs earlier in the day. Yes, absolutely. Matches circadian biology, keeps you fuller longer for the day, increase your performance during your workout for sure. But fasting activates fat burning, so lipolysis. It releases fatty acids into your bloodstream. It suppresses insulin. It depletes your glycogen stores. So your metabolism actually ramps up. So growth hormone goes up. Growth hormone in itself is not anabolic, but it's the starting of that pathway or that cascade. So your hormones do have a downstream effect from that as well. So fasting may dip your T short term, but it blocks aromatase, which is fat loss equals less estrogen conversion. So your net effect is your testosterone has gone up. And this is from a study on the effects of fasting on metabolic hormones and functions, a narrative review from October in 2024. So combining the two strategies, I feel like you figured it out, to Tommy's point earlier. Like, this is a great strategy for performance, for fueling, and ultimately for long-term health and hormone balance. So keep up the good work. Way to intuitively kind of figure it out. And that's why, none of these things are all in a petri dish, right? Everyone's at a little bit different place, metabolically speaking, and also lifestyle speaking, on where they are in their journey with fasting and weight loss. So great question. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the comment. Mm-hmm. And keep up the great work. This leads into another question that we had that came in from Carrie. And she said, I joined a gym and hired a personal trainer a couple of weeks ago, and I'm focusing on strength training. Mm-hmm. Absolutely great. Muscle building, metabolic powerhouse, insulin sensitivity, blood sugar management, stress management, all the stuff. So great job. I love lifting. Who knew? Right? The issue is on fast days, directly after workouts are harder. I get so hungry on those days. What is that?
Yeah. It's annoying is what it is. It's also tempting if you're walking by. Yeah, it's real. If you're walking by the gym cafe, if they have one over there, then it can be real annoying. It could be costly. Could cost you a fast, or it could lead you towards making decisions that you weren't planning on making. That's for sure. So, understanding that sometimes the hunger is real, or it feels very real, is very important, because if you can, I think the first thing to note is that typically there is an adjustment period to that, because between your circadian rhythm, the context clues of like the cephalic phase of hunger, hey, I'm just used to, like, now I have a workout at maybe it's 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or maybe it's during the breakfast hours, maybe it's lunch, during the office hours at lunch. These could have been times when you would have been eating in the past. And so during those times, you're remembering all those times you have a habitual conditioned response to be ready for food. And then now, instead of bringing in fuel, you're actually accelerating the rate at which you're burning fuel. So then your body goes, what the heck is going on here? Not only are we hungry,
you have this vacuum, like this void that you've created.
Yeah. You created a huge void. It's bigger than before. And then you got the afterburn effect. If you're lifting heavy weights, you have that post-exercise, additional oxygen consumption, which tends to leave metabolism ramped up for multiple hours after the lift. So it can be problematic when it comes to saying no or not right now to food.
Yep.
So that's first and foremost to set the stage.
And this is what we talk about on day 6 of our challenge, where we talk about exercise and the proper way to exercise for fat loss, right? So cardio is not the best for calorie burning, but it is great for cardio health. Lifting is great for muscle building, right? It's separate and distinct, but they're so closely related. So increased hunger on days after strength training is a healthy, normal response. Your body is signaling for extra fuel as it grows stronger. So when we start adopting a fasting lifestyle, or you've been fasting, intermittent fasting lifestyle, and then you add in strength training, you got to adjust your schedule or prioritize your nutrition and figure out that balance that works for you. I can't stand eating and then working out.
Oh, me neither.
I've never been good at it. I feel terrible. I'm sluggish.
Yeah.
So I prefer to work out in a fasted state and fuel after. Right? So, but a couple of things as to why this is happening from a physiological standpoint. Strength training increases your caloric need to repair and grow your muscles, right? So it's going to ramp up that afterburn effect that you talk about. This exercise post oxygen consumption, or EPOC. It's going to increase your calorie burn even after you finish. You're also going to change your hunger signals. Ghrelin will rise after an intense workout. Leptin may drop temporarily, making it harder to feel full. So your hunger cues are changed.
Yeah.
Your body, your muscles are going to require glycogen or glucose, because you deplete the glycogen or the glucose, the short-term energy that you have floating around in your bloodstream. So your body craves that food to fill those stores. And your body needs more amino acids. This is why we say prioritize protein at every meal. Right? So time your fast wisely. So possible, align your workout to end or near the starting of your nutrition opportunity or eating window. Optimize your pre-workout nutrition if you choose to do it that way, which is what my wife does. Protein-rich, balanced meal. Stay hydrated. This is a key optimizer. If you add an element or some Redmond salt before your workout, you're going to notice that your post-workout hunger will be less.
Yep, good point.
And it's completely normal, but you need to give yourself time for your body to adapt to this new physiological stress.
Yeah.
Just like when you started fasting and the first time you went to bed without food and you woke up and it was a struggle, the next day you woke up and you're like, oh my God, I made it. I feel amazing. Right? But then the next time you do it, you wake up and you're like, man, I slept like crap. I'm tired. What the heck? I thought this was working. You got to give yourself time to adapt to the new physiological stress. So love the question, love the intention, love that you love lifting, and just try to pull some of those levers and try a few different things to see what works best for you. My wife and I, we're yin and yang. Yeah. She always needs to fuel before a workout. I prefer not to because I don't feel good during it. And I've been that way my whole life.
Yep.
So good on you for stepping outside of your comfort zone, Carrie.
Love it.
All right. Let's go next to the conversation. This was multiple questions across multiple threads during the challenge, before the challenge, after the challenge, from coaching clients. Like full big picture here is the dreaded plateau. And then we'll talk about the concept of snacking during a fast. So let's go to the plateau first.
Okay. So plateaus can be tricky, especially when they come up just kind of all of a sudden out of nowhere. Like things were kind of cruising along, maybe from the beginning when you started consistently fasting, or once you started, kind of rearranging things after, some sort of sense of urgency, and you really changed things around, and then you saw some quick movements on the scale. And so we had a couple of questions. How do I handle a plateau on an OMAD from Joyce? And then, so that was...
Well, then the longer question came in from Jean Marie.
Okay.
Who said that I was exposed to fasting via a work friend. So thank you, friend, for sharing what we do.
Yes.
In awesome. March of 2025. Been listening to your older podcast, a few are here and there. I'm down about 13 pounds since starting OMAD in late May.
Very nice.
Incredible. I started this journey because I needed to lose weight and I saw how effective it was for my work friend, but now I'm stuck. Like stuck.
Stuck.
I've done 2 36-hour fasts, one last week, one this week, and I'm stuck. So stuck that I'm seriously wondering what the heck's going on. I know I can do better. I know I need to hit the reset button. I've listened to most of your recent episodes. But this 3-pound fluctuation, this dreaded plateau, has been going on for the past 3 weeks.
Yep.
I really
Been
want
there.
to encourage you, Jean Marie, that this is completely normal. This is not a 1 + 1 = 2 scenario when you're looking at the scale. Okay? So help, please. Yes, we're going to help, because OMAD in itself has many faces. It can be a fat loss strategy. It can be a intentional plateau, an unintentional plateau, or it can be a maintenance strategy when you reach your goal.
Could be a regain strategy accidentally too, which
Could be an accidental regain strategy
Yeah.
too. So I want you to know that even though you might not be seeing the scale moving, your body metabolically, the iceberg analogy beneath the surface, is changing.
Yeah.
All of the studies we talk about, metabolic changes, changes in labs, changes in insulin sensitivity or effectiveness, or reduction in insulin resistance. So we like to look to things outside of the scale when you get to the point where you hit a plateau. Yes, we'll talk about maybe there's some slippage or some things that you are doing or not doing efficiently during your fasts, which leads into the next question about snacking while fasting. But the reality here is that consistency is always going to win. There is going to be a whoosh, okay? More fasting isn't always the answer, as you've now experienced. It's consistency in your day-to-day, prioritizing protein, proper hydration, proper sleep, right? And movement. Those are the things that, along with your fasting lifestyle efforts, are going to eventually help you break through this plateau. That's why we look to things like non-scale victories, right, Tommy?
Yeah, absolutely. So instead of, like when the scale stops moving, not if, but when it stops moving,
Yes.
or when it slows down like that, sometimes, to Scott, to your point, it can feel like a plateau, but really physiologically, it's not a plateau. You might have some major healing, rebalancing, and metabolic optimization
Hunger
happening.
hormone resetting.
For sure.
Hunger cue, like tons of stuff's happening that you're not seeing.
Behavioral food choices might be improving. You might be getting more intuitive with some of your food choices, or being able to say no, or not right now, or the juice isn't worth the squeeze, or that doesn't serve my long-term goals. You might be intuitively improving some of your relationship with food, not even realizing it. But at the same time, if you're just living and dying by what the scale says, sometimes that will be enough to kind of negate all of these non-scale victories. So keep that in mind. And Scott, to your other point about, having some other ways to kind of track this, look at something else. While the scale isn't moving, then don't put so much weight in what it says, right? So actually, maybe take out some calipers, or like a tape measure. Get one of your shirts or pants that are a little bit thinner. Maybe they're the next size down, or maybe, they just haven't been very comfortable lately. Try those on every few days, because you'll notice a change in body composition, even while the scale is staying the same. And that's your ideal situation right there.
Yeah, you're going down a pant size, you're going down a shirt size, clothes are fitting better. That's body recomposition. I'll take that any day over the scale moving a pound or two down.
Absolutely.
And this really leads into a question that was submitted from Lisa, because we talk about getting rid of your fat clothes, so to speak. I used to always hold on to these things, like the bigger shirts, the bigger pants.
Yeah.
But now in
Might
this
need them
house,
again later.
yeah, I might need them. You're giving yourself an out.
Yep.
So we like to say donate those, right? Get rid of them. But Lisa asked, what about the thin clothes? Like, should we keep those, the ones that used to fit but no longer do? Is it healthy to save them for the day when they hopefully will fit again, right? Or will they continue to be associated with the negative feelings that arise from significant regain? Is it better to start over? So this is when we can use a measurement, a picture, an article of clothing to actually use it as a motivating thing, right? So they may not fit the second time you put them on, but you're getting closer if you're seeing that body composition change. So we can't just rely on the scale to be our motivating factor. We have to know why, to Jean Marie's point, why you need or want to lose the weight. Your situation is not the same as your friends that has success with fasting. You don't exactly know why she's doing it, he or she's doing it, or what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So chat with them. Find a fasting buddy, for sure. But know that consistency wins over time. And yes, using non-scale victories or other measurements, or waist circumference or waist to height ratio, or that thin piece of clothing that you're
Mm-hmm.
wanting to get back into, use that as a motivating factor to help you track your progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's from 20 years ago or something like that, hey, maybe that's a different version of you. Maybe
Yeah.
that was pre-kids versus post-kids. Maybe that, I mean, it's just decades ago. Is it back in style? Maybe. But at the same time, if it may not be realistic at some point, and you
If it's not
just
serving
look
you.
at it, yeah. If it just seems like it puts you in like this hope, kind of desperation, mindset, then I would say get rid of that one. But at the same time, more aspirational clothes, like a size or two down, or hey, I was here a few years back, or hey, this is 20 pounds from now, 30 pounds from now, even it could be 100 pounds from now. But if it's like that would be at a healthy weight for me right now, and I think that's possible at some point, then I say hold on to it, because hey, maybe it's 6 months from now or 12 months from now, but still, if that's exciting, if it's exciting to you, the idea that you're comfortably able to fit into that again, then absolutely, I think use it as a motivating factor. Keep seeing it, because your self-image, like you're wanting to feel more like yourself. So if it excites you to look at that one, then great. And if it doesn't, then you could cut ties with it. But Scott, to your point about cutting ties with the fatter clothes, or with the size or two up from here, I say get rid of those too, because not only is it like giving yourself an out, it's also a reminder of some of the habits that didn't serve you, what you did at that point, how you felt, how you got there, why you got there. And maybe it was boredom, grief, sadness, anger, frustration, high stress, low sleep time of your life. It doesn't really matter what the season or what the reason is for it. If there's really no reason why you would ever want to go back to feeling that way and behaving that way, and looking and weighing that amount, then forget it. Literally forget it. Forget it ever existed, and cut ties with it altogether. And then just look ahead, look towards the big, hairy, audacious goal, the results that you're looking forward to on your long-term plan, and cut ties with that old version of me.
Yep, 100%. So tactically, for what to do on an OMAD plateau, something has to change.
Yeah.
So typically when we think of OMAD, we think of, well, I'll just eat dinner every night, right? But that's not the only way you can do OMAD.
It's not necessarily the best way to do OMAD
And
either.
it's not necessarily the best way either.
Yeah.
So you can move your OMAD earlier in the day. That's one lever you can pull. You can change up the foods you're eating during that OMAD. You can add in walking or a movement to your day-to-day routine as well. You can focus on your sleep. But you can also alternate your OMAD. So you can do, anywhere from a 22 to a 30-hour fast just by going from lunch to the following day dinner.
Yep.
Or breakfast to the following day lunch. So you can vary that OMAD schedule. If you're looking for insights into that, you can grab the free PDF, the Blueprint to Fasting for Fat Loss. It has some varied schedules in there where we call it like an OMAD zigzag, like where you're moving those times, right? So there are other things to look at when it comes to what you're doing with your OMAD. And those small levers, give it a couple of weeks, make some changes, give it a couple of weeks, but those levers are typically the things that we see that drive the greatest change. So moving your window earlier, mixing up your OMAD, not just doing the same meal at the same time every day, maybe working in an extended fast, do a 30 or 36-hour fast. Look at the food choices, right? So protein paste, look at your food choices. Look at your sleep and your stress levels. So how is your sleep? You can focus on those other metrics as well. You can focus on adding in movement. But that's why we say fasting lifestyle, not just, stop eating, right? So,
Right.
But this is something we hear often. What's the greatest schedule? Well, the one that you're going to be able to stick to. So give yourself a little grace. Know that these plateaus are completely normal. It's part of the process. Have other metrics you can use, pictures, photos, clothes, measurements, waist-height ratio, those types of things that don't just rely on the scale. And know that you're making metabolic change beneath the surface.
Yes, and Jean Marie, those 36-hour fasts, instead of one being 1 week, one the next week, why don't you put them a little closer together next time, so that instead of seeing just this greater volatility on the scale, you might start to see a little bit more consistency with less volatility in between, and that can be really helpful and motivating and physiologically beneficial as well. So speaking of, a couple of things that you mentioned there, Scott, one of them being potential slippage. Gary had asked a question about nuts. I find myself snacking during my fast. I'm not hungry, but any thoughts? Typically, nuts are my go-to, and I'm taking a handful of mixed nuts about 24-hour mark. I'm trying to get to that 36-hour mark, but really around 24 hours, I'm having a handful of mixed nuts. How bad is this? And I'm gonna say, Gary.
So hold on, Tommy. We had another one come in from Julie as well.
Oh, okay.
How do I truly abstain from nuts? I'm not eating out of hunger. It's always in response to stress or fear or overwhelm.
Yeah.
I'm still having my fast, but my eating window, I'm having food that I really don't feel good about. So
Okay.
you can insert anything into this category, but specifically for Gary's question, it's around this, this 24-hour kind of, I'm having a handful of nuts. How bad is it? In the big picture of things, it's not bad.
Sure. It's not going to make or break your long-term results, probably. Okay. It's probably at the end of the day with the fast, if you had one handful of nuts, you're going to get most of the insulin beneficial, insulin sensitivity changes. You're going to get most of the ability to burn through some of that long-term fat during that fast. Mindset wise, can it create some slippery slopes? Sure, it can. Your mileage may vary. So it just depends. Those are very kind of individualized responses. But at the same time, what to do about it? Like the first question that you'll normally go to, Scott, is ask yourself, but why? Like literally asking myself, why did I just do that? What problem am I trying to solve here? Is I think a good one, because first of all, do I need to have these nuts in the house? Who are they for? Why am I using them?
The present time awareness of why you're making that decision. Like, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, be like a toddler. But why, Dad? But why? But why? But why? So why are you doing? Is it the end all be all of your long term results? Like Tom said, no. But why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm. You don't want to be doing it.
It's interesting because it sounds like you. Yeah, exactly. It sounds like you don't want to be doing it.
Right. So now it seems like you're feeling a little bit out of control in that moment. Like I don't have quite conscious control of that moment. I wish I did. I wish I could just, snap my fingers but I can't. So why? Okay, well, first of all, hitting about the 24-hour mark is when physiologically you're probably just about done with all of your short-term glycogen stores. They're done from the skeletal muscle and they're out from the liver as well. So then you're metabolically fighting to get into ketosis at that point. Maybe
we call that the transition from glycogen depletion into high ketone production. It's that keto switch.
Mm-hmm.
This is typically the most difficult part for folks, so you're not alone in this either.
Agreed. And it does get easier. The more times you make that switch, the more efficient your body gets at actually producing the right enzymes in the right concentration and quantity quickly when you need them. So then you feel that transition less, or maybe even sometimes not at all. And the bigger your previous meal was, the more carbohydrate rich that it was, the more you tend to feel that transition, just because now you're making a metabolic switch that's more like a 180-degree turn rather than if you've been doing low carb like Nick mentioned earlier in the conversation, then you can tend to feel that transition less because you're not going all the way from glucose metabolism all the way over to ketone production and fat metabolism. So, but the present time awareness of that decision in the moment, I think is good. I'm going to question whether you need to continue buying the mixed nuts and keeping them in the house for now.
Well, you told me a story about you and your wife at Costco, which I think is just powerful.
I did. Okay, so we were over actually in the nut section, kind of like in the front of the store. They have all the snacky kind of stuff. The kids were with me, were with us. And she reached over and picked up my favorite bag, like a large bag of macadamia nuts. And this is literally what I think about. Man, if I ever needed just the most efficient source of fuel and I had like $10 in my pocket or $15, what would I buy? It'd be this large bag of macadamia nuts. Like I love them. I could sit there and just snack on them. I could consume hundreds of calories and eventually thousands of calories, and it wouldn't take very long to do it either. And so it's a potent source of fuel, but I looked at her and I said, okay, well, hold on, wait a minute, hun. Who are those macadamia nuts for? She was like, well, they're for me. And I was like, well, are you sure? Because I guarantee you I'm going to eat 95% of that bag, if not 100% of that bag. Like I've almost never seen her reach for them when they're in the house, but she's typically the one that buys them, but I'm going to be the one eating them. So I said, okay, can you put those over by like your stuff in the pantry? She has a little section that like, the kids aren't just going to go to. And like, if mom needs something in particular, it's not going to be gone in the moment. And she said, okay, so you'd want me to move these in the pantry. All right. So, because out of sight, out of mind, I don't need to see these. Otherwise, every time I go in there for dog food or to help the kids out or whatever the case may be, to cook dinner, I'm going to see them. And it's going to be like, oh, those look pretty good. I'm going to have that thought every single time. I know myself, right? And she said, okay, well, I don't really need them, she said. And I said, okay, well, that's great, because I'd much rather go to the local grocery store, get you a small little handful of them, and pay a little bit more per pound just to have them, and they could be yours. But if I see this giant bag of opportunity,
that's going to create dissension in my brain.
It absolutely is. And I'm going to have a new decision and new food noise every time I see them. So just that prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So your prevention kind of starts in the grocery store here, Gary.
Yeah, and I love when Juliet identified, she goes to them for a certain reason. So it's just like, who are these for? Who are they serving? Do I really need them? And I would also encourage Gary and other things in other situations, right? Insert anything into the nut description, right? Put anything you want
nut
in between.
Butter.
Yeah, in between the quotation marks there. Is replace it with something else. Because when we try to reframe a habit, we usually typically create a habit void or a habit vacuum.
Correct.
So we remove something from our day-to-day, but we don't add in something to replace it. So I would actually say, for the next time this comes up, specifically to Gary, why don't you try doing a little, do an element, or do an electrolyte, or do a little bit of salt in some water, and just try putting something else in place. Go for a walk, phone a friend, whatever it is. Put something else in place of it to see if you can identify like that habit. Again, paper cut in a house fire. Is it really going to derail your long-term process? No, it's a handful of nuts, right? It's not like you're, snorting a handful of pure cane sugar or something,
right.
or ultra-processed food. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But if you can identify why, or maybe replace it, you're probably going to get some mental ahas as to why. Yeah, which is really the long-term sustainability piece that we always talk about. So
that's great.
Great question. Love it. Thank you guys for submitting the questions. Thank you for allowing us to be on this Fasting for Life journey with you. We love these episodes. We love to hear from you. If we don't get to your question in real time, that's not because of a lack of attention. It's just because of the amount that we receive. So we typically will do these episodes every 4 to 6, or if we see a thread like these today where there's a lot of overlapping consistencies between them, we think it's just beneficial for you guys to be part of that conversation. So Tommy, as always, man, I appreciate the conversation. If you're looking for some more resources, head to the show notes, join a challenge, grab a resource, grab the blueprint, join the Facebook group, reach out to us. But as always, man, I appreciate the conversation. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye. So, you've heard today's episode, and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.